First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for making this happen. I've had a wonderful time so far. This has been the best thing that has happened to me since a very long time.
You are the creator of your reality. Good job.
When I decided to attend this land cruise, people in my environment asked me, "Oh, that's so cool. What will you ask?" I had not a clue. I was just planning to be here, and the energy itself is uplifting. And then yesterday, all of a sudden, a question popped up. It was a bit of a silly one. So I raised my hand, but it was the pick me, no, don't pick me. But then my boyfriend got picked. And he had the possibility to ask the last question about drugs. And of all the questions that he that he was wanting to ask, this was not my favorite.
It was ours.
Yeah. It turned out to be the highlight of this vacation for me, because there was such a learning moment in it. And from that, my real question emerged. Because obviously I was afraid of the judgments of others. Him expressing how we live our life and what we do and how we party.
Have you looked around?
But the good thing about it is that after the seminar, it took us about an hour and a half to get back to our hotel room because of all the people that came up to him and thanked him for the question. So I was afraid of being judged, but instead of that, he was being thanked. And from that, my real question is, because this is a situation here, but to be honest, in all of my life, I am pretty scared about what others might think of me, of how to act in a certain situation. So what I'd like to hear is a few words, how to let the opinions of others mean less and less to me. That's what I'd like to know.
Would you speak right to the heart of how it is that you all have summoned us to you? In other words, it is the most essential part of what we are all about as we are all in this together. Because everyone came forth with clear understanding of the contrast that they were coming into, knowing that that contrast would produce within them new seeds of desire, which were essential for expansion and therefore essential for eternalness. And so that's why you decided, all of you, to come forth with enough variety and diversity to mix it up in order to cause those questions and those desires to be born. In the process of exposure to contrast, your parents, as they welcomed you into this physical experience, had already been bumped around enough by their lack of alignment and their forgetting who they are, that they started off with you in that way. And this is the way that we really want you to hear it. They didn't mean to, they were well-meaning, but they convinced you little by little that your happiness depended upon pleasing them. So they began training you right away. So did your teachers. So does almost everyone who comes around you to some extent. Because most people have sort of lost their way and are living conditional love. It's what we were speaking to just now as we were beginning, which is, show me something that makes me feel good and then I'll feel good. But if I should see something that doesn't make me feel good, then I won't feel good. So only show me what makes me feel good, which causes people to, because they're living this conditional love, they want love. They just think they need certain conditions in order to feel that way. It causes them to then need something they can never get. Control of what other people want, of what other people think, of what other people believe, of what other people are. They seem to need that control and they never get it. They keep looking for it, but they never find it. And we say it's because they're looking for love in all the wrong places. They're looking for it where it isn't instead of where it is. So the beginning to the answer to this wonderful question is, you have to get that square in your head. It was sort of off on the wrong foot almost from the beginning because those around you convinced you. And we understand why. When someone, your mother or your father or your boyfriend or your lover or your child or your friend, when anybody, or a stranger, when anyone holds you as their object of attention and likes what they see, adores you, and so they're connected with source energy because in their appreciation they're on that high-flying disc and they're holding you as their object of attention. Oh, that feels so good. It feels like you want more of that until you begin to discover that you can't stand on your head in enough different ways to keep that consistently coming. So sometimes you say, I think I'll go forth and I think I'll be different enough that I will not conform. I will not be able to conform. There are all kinds of spirits coming in who are determined to be nonconformists in that way. I will not stand in perfection so that you can lazily, conditionally love me. Now, we're not asking you, any of you, to run around and be unlovable just to test people to their highest good. But we're also really not encouraging you to try to conform to please them because it makes them weak, you see. So that's really the crux of it. You have to realize that all of your joy comes from your alignment and everything else follows that. We like the words that you were offering about the inspiration that flows in other words, the impulse to ask the question. That was you reaching the vibration of where the solution is and feeling it but not quite being sure, and feeling it and not quite being sure. That's that feeling of sensation, that feeling of inspiration, that feeling of impulse. That's that feeling of alignment that we've been talking about in all of these hours that we've been together. So the most important thing in no longer caring what anyone thinks is understanding that they don't know what they really think if they're not in tune with who they really are. So those opinions don't count. Those opinions don't count. Those opinions don't count. Those opinions don't count. Those opinions. Don't you want to go to the highest source of opinion? We would. We do. We are. And so then someone hits you with something that feels unpleasant. And rather than, we've been saying, don't let your feelings be hurtable. Let your feelings be unhurtable. Well, that means you've got to be on the unhurtable disc, which means you got to be on the disc of alignment. You got to be on that high flying place. You got to be tuned in, tapped in, turned on with who you are. And then even if something does occur, because it's a very diverse environment and you're moving around with a lot of people, and law of attraction is not going to bring you to a little cluster of people where there are only a handful. There are always going to be a lot of people around you. And those up closest to you, of course, are those that you're attracting with the strongest vibration. So something comes into your experience that doesn't feel all that good, but now you stand in your knowing and you acknowledge, hey, I don't hold this against you because you know not what you do. You don't know. You don't know, and it's not your fault in the sense that you're doing something wrong. We don't believe that anyone ever offers anything that is harmful or hurtful to another person deliberately. we think that they're swept up in a vibrational current that is causing inspiration that does not do who they really are justice. So if you were to find someone in the street bleeding, we know you'd do everything in your power to help them. We know you would. But when you find someone belligerent or uncaring or unkind or insensitive, you don't feel like helping him. You feel like getting away from them or kicking them to the curb. In other words, you don't feel kind toward them because in your attention to them, you've lost your connection and now they're controlling the disc you're on, you see. And we think that's the part that bothers you the most, is that it takes you from your alignment, and you don't want to be taken from your alignment. You want your alignment to be so shored up, and you just do it. A gathering like this is putting more of you in the place of doing that in your entire lifetime has provided you. Because you've sat for hours in conscious awareness of the laws of the universe with the source within you pulsing in a stronger way than ever, and you've tuned to that frequency, and you will not slip from it without knowing that you've slipped from it, you see. Esther says people are well-meaning. And sometimes she says it through gritted teeth. Because she has discovered a new sensitivity in this last year that has never been there before. And people are pretty damn insensitive. Because they know not what they do. But it is not their job to know. It's not their job to feather Esther's nest. It's her job to feather her nest.